Shooter, are you ready? Stand by.
What up, YouTube? Gunner South here. Going to talk a little bit about what I would call the $50 trigger job that I've done for this pair of 1911, or should I say 2011, I guess, technically. They call them pair P14 45s. But let's talk about what I've done to get this CDP ready, competition ready for me. You had seen and heard me basically complain a lot in previous videos about the trigger that comes with the stock paras and all the wiggle that you get in those guns out of the box. It's a plastic trigger, it wiggles a lot, whatever. I've shit all over it, right? So what do you do? Well, I talked about replacing the trigger with some STI trigger. I also did a little research and we figured out how to go ahead and lighten the trigger pull as well. So I'm just going to go into a little detail about what I've done to this para. I'm going to spare you the gory details about breaking this thing down. I might break it down a little bit to show you, but it's kind of a process, and frankly there's plenty of better videos out there about how to take down a 1911. So let's talk about a little bit about what I have done. First off, most noticeable thing that you can see, I took out the stock para trigger out of this gun. Here it is right here. You can see it's plastic. And I replaced it with a Guncraft, which I got from Brownells. I believe it cost me like 29 bucks. Came with came with the same type of thing here. It came with an over travel screw, and it came with the Allen wrench that went with it. You can see it buried in there a little bit. And I was really expecting to have a lot of trouble with this particular part the most. You know, most of them talk about how you have to get them in, and you have to sand down that edge, and then you have to sand down this side, and that you basically have to work it down to where it fits in the gun. This one dropped right in. I put it in. It was a little gritty, so I basically got the Dremel out and polished the top and bottom of it, and just kind of hit the whole trigger bar area with the polish too. But dropped it right in, and it was ready to go. And it's so much better. There's none of that top and bottom wiggle that I had before. Again, you can see here, so watch the, alright, not moving versus what you got in the stock para. Quite a bit of up and down. So, that alone right there has made this trigger pull much better, simply because it's a straight back pull now. So that's been a huge improvement right there. Just a straight back. It's not up and down, it's not left and right, it's just kind of a straight back. Boom. So highly recommend the Brownells Para aluminum trigger. 20 bucks, something like that. Well worth it. Next thing I did, Wolf mainspring hammer spring, right? I went with the 17 pound. I got the adjustable pack, right? That comes with all of them. I think I got like I think I start with 17 and it goes down to 15 or 14 or whatever. Talked to one of my buddies who's already done sort of this same thing, and he said just go with the 17. Any lower than 17 you have to deal with federal primers only, and the hammer starts to feel a little slow. So I went with the 17 pound main spring that sits here, hammer spring, and that is what the hammer spur acts on. It pushes it down into the main spring housing. That's what this is right here. You can see the one I replaced. It sits in there, and when the hammer goes back, it gets put under tension, and that is where you get your trigger pull strength, or at least part of it. And let me tell you what, just replacing that spring, I went down to a 3.5 pound trigger. So I think this was sitting around 4.5 before. Dropped pretty much a full pound off that trigger to go to 3.5. I fully consider this absolutely competition ready with a 3.5 pound trigger. Some guys like to go lighter on that on their 1911s. I like 3 pound triggers. I feel like, one, it's good practice to not have a hair trigger. Two, it's a little safer, honestly. I mean, we talk about trigger discipline in competition. You got to have your finger up all the time. But mistakes happen, and you want to be a little forgiving. And honestly, just being able to touch it like that and not have it go off. I mean, you know, it's all on you. It's all on you as a shooter, and it's all about your trigger discipline and everything, but a little forgiving is a little forgiving. Also, again, it's more about when I switch to a 5 pound trigger in a self-defense situation, it's not going to be a completely alien trigger to me. So, 3.5 pound trigger with just a 17 pound mainspring from Wolf. Highly recommended. That's like $9 maybe. And then finally, I got a cylinder and slide light pull sear spring for 1911. Well, what do those look like? They look like this spring, right? Well, Gunner South, what are you doing? This is, you're holding this spring. It's supposed to be in the gun. Well, you're absolutely right. For whatever reason, and I don't know whether the para is out of spec or the spring is out of spec, this spring is not long enough to sit on the sear, right? The sear part, not long enough. Now you see it has a little curvature to it. So I tried sliding the mainspring housing on it and flattening it out. I tried leaving it out of that slot up there, moving it up, and seeing if I could wiggle it in later. None of that, I couldn't get any of that to work, frankly. I couldn't get any of it to work. So I have this, and it's not installed, and this cost me another, say, $9, I think. Maybe this was like 11 or whatever. It was cheap, actually. I think this was probably more like 7. So I'll correct it in the annotations. But it's really frustrating to have bought this and to not be able to install it. That said, I already got the 3.5 pound trigger by replacing this bad boy, so I'm okay to let this stay out for now. I will end up trying this in another 1911 that I have, just to see if it's the gun or if it's the spring. But you know, I'm not sure. It's not worth me sending back. I might play with it a little bit, but ultimately I got a 3.5 pound trigger in this. It's ready to go. It feels great. I've got these front serrations on it, 3.5 pounds, ready to go, ready to compete. Gonna shoot it this week, see how it goes. I'm really excited about it. You know, spending about $50 total with shipping and all that crap. I've got a great non-gunsmith trigger for this 1911 I got, and I did it all with pretty much 2 components. The Wolf spring and the Guncraft trigger, and I'm really excited about it. The other thing I've done, I finally got the Dremel out and I took the edges off the inside here. I haven't done it very extensive. In fact, you probably won't even notice it, but there used to be some hard edges on that, and I just kind of spent about 5 minutes on each side, very, very lightly, just sort of taking the edge off. That'll help me hopefully find the magwell a little bit, because I'm not going to mess with trying to find a magwell for this. That's pretty big enough. So I hit the edges just to make it a little easier to go in. I might do a little bit more extensive beveling here, but right now I'm pretty happy with that. Additionally, I have a shock buff in there, and you see the extended slide safety, or excuse me, extended slide stop already in there, as well as the full-length guide rod, which was already in there. So the next step on this gun, I'm going to let the gunsmith take a look at it this week and see if he wants to put, or see if he's able to put a Bowmar rear on this, see how much that's going to run me. If it's going to cost too much, I'm not going to worry about it, but it would be nice to have a Bowmar style. I really like the Bowmar style rear sights. It's almost a look thing than anything else, but excited to go ahead with this gun. You've heard a lot about this gun already. This will Be exciting. I'm hoping to make expert with this gun in CDP. I'll be shooting a nice heavy metal gun with the 45. I feel like that's going to make a little bit of a difference. I'll post lots of videos, any updates that I do for it. So thanks a lot, YouTube. Give me a like, subscribe, and we'll make more of these videos. Thanks a lot.